सहना ववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। यदि मन्यसे सुवेदेति दभ्रमेवापि नूनं त्वं वेत्थ ब्रह्मणो रूपं यदस्य त्वं यदस्य देवेषु अथनु मीमांस्यमेव ते मन्ये विदितं नाहं मन्ये सुवेदेति नो न वेदेति वेद च यो नस्तद्वेद तद्वेद नो न वेदेति वेद च यस्य मतं तस्य मतं मतं यस्य न वेद सः अविज्ञातं विजानतां विज्ञातमविजानताम्। Hari Om. We had seen the first three mantras of second chapter. Whenever we study any Upanishad, one thing that should be very firmly held on to is that Upanishad is pramana. Every mantra of Upanishad is a valid means of knowledge. It will reveal something which will not be known to us through other means of knowledge. And the different pointers which are mentioned are something that a student of Vedanta should pay very close attention to. So whenever we discuss set of mantras, we should always take a step back and say, okay, what is the thing that this mantra has taught me new? Right? That is the whole purpose of studying it with Bhashya, that lot of new pointers will be brought in, and the same mantra we can understand in a deeper way. So the first mantra in the second chapter was shaking of the conviction of the student by the teacher, where the teacher said, if Brahman is known to you with some conditioning, either individual or total, then that understanding of Brahman is limited understanding. And later on, when we saw the second and third mantra, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji pointed out that this is not being said to any ordinary person. Why? Because ordinary person will not even think about Brahman. Right? This is a great sadhaka, mumukshu who has traveled a long distance. His quest is to know the nature of Brahma. He has followed the steps in Vedanta as it was told to him. and he is very well settled in devotion to Bhagavan. And that is why that total conditioning part has come. Now, if you are attending Vedanta Sara, a lot of things will be, parallel in what is being said in Vedanta Sara and Kenopanishad. He says devotion is very thoroughly ripened in his life, and now that student is ready to appreciate unconditioned nature. Okay, to that sadhaka, this mantra came and said, with conditioning, if something is known, that is limited understanding. Then the second mantra in second chapter, this is when the student went and came back, right? And his conviction was very strong. He said, I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Means I don't know Brahman as an object. But at the same time, I don't say I don't know Brahman also, because it's always recognized as aham. So Brahman is not unknown to me. At the same time, it is not known to me as an object. Yonas tadveda tadveda, nona vedechi vedacha. Okay, that was his second mantra. Now there are some words, if we use it in Sanskritam, that is the most precise way, to say that. So you see this word aparoksha aham. There is no English equivalent to that. You say immediate, most proximate, all those are okay. But the communication which happens with Sanskrit words in certain places, we should use just those words, right? Because when we study other texts and slowly our knowledge of Vedanta deepens, then these words will help us in meditation. That is the whole purpose of studying few words. We don't need to overwhelm ourselves with too many words. So how is Brahman known to this sadhaka? He says Brahman is known as aparoksha aham. Okay, so that was the second mantra. Then came the third mantra, where Shruti Mata herself concluded the discussion. Right, that was the third mantra. Yasya matam tasya matam, matam yasyana vedasaha. Avidnyatam vijanatam. Vijnatam avijanatam. It was a restatement of Mahavakya, restatement of what was said by the student. But we saw another insight, given by Anandagiriji, where he said the second line, avidnyatam vijanatam. Means once the substratum is known, the superimposed becomes unknown. Avidnyatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. And those who have not recognized the substratum, their attention will only be on the superimposed. That is why there are two quarters in that mantra. Those who know the substratum, they don't have any reality given to the superimposed. But before knowing that substratum, attention is only on the superimposed. Okay, so the main points over here in these three mantras were, what is the right way to know Atma? Not bringing any objectification in the knowledge of Atman. And second was importance of Mananam. Right, that portion also we saw. What are the ingredients in Mananam? The culmination of Mananam is to know that Atma is not an object of Mananam. Right? Through the mind, I cannot think about Atman as an object. Then what am I using the mind for? I am using the mind to negate everything and also to negate the mind. I am using the mind to think in line with whatever logic has been given in Upanishads, in Bhashya. That seer has to be different from seen. Now this Mananam cannot happen in the physical body. It cannot happen in any sense organ. It cannot happen outside in any inert object. The only place where this Mananam will happen is the mind. But what we should appreciate there is, because we are thinking with the mind, it doesn't mean that Atman will become an object of our Mananam. It is in the light of Atman, Mananam is happening. Right? So I have to use Mananam, think about all aspects of Vedanta, use a lot of logic, but come to understand that I am that Atman in whose light all these functions are happening. Both sides are important. Sometimes we sway to the other side, where we say, oh, anyway, I have to say that I'm the witness of Mananam. Why even do Mananam? If we don't do Mananam on Atma, we'll do Mananam on Vishaya. Very simple it is. I say first turn inwards from Vishaya and use that mind to do thorough Shravanam, thorough Mananam. Let this knowledge be so bright and shining that it seeps in and through our Vyavahara. Right? Purpose of studying Vedanta is not just few hours. Right? Some day, some time of the day, I'm a student of Vedanta. The purpose is to get this knowledge inside. So mind should become Vedamaya. Puja Guruji's word this is. When Guruji taught us Shiva Sankalpa Suktam, he said, immerse yourself in Vedanta so much that mind becomes Vedamaya. Vedamaya means what? The predominance of that thing is, Maya means, full of. Right? If you make something very, very sweet, then you say it is sugar Maya. So mind should become Vedamaya. Means all the pointers which are given in Shastra, their predominance should be there in the mind, and they should guide us in our Vyavahara. Okay, this was a summary of the first 3 verses. Now there is a problem. What is the problem? Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, he himself raises these points, and then he will introduce the next mantra. He says, this statement that Brahman is unknown to me. Just now we saw that Jnani is making that statement. The student who has understood this truth, he says, Naham manye suvedeti. And then Shruti Mata herself said, Yasya matam tasya matam, matam yasya na vedasaha. Now Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, Ajnani, who is an ignorant person, he also makes the same statement. Ajnani also says, what is Brahman? I don't know. Is there somebody called Brahman? He says, I see myself and I see the world. I don't believe in Brahman. I don't know if there is something called as Brahman. So Bhagwan says, what is the difference between both of them? Jnani and Ajnani. You both are saying the same statement. You see, with this he introduces the Bhashya. He says, what is the method of getting Samyak Jnanam? Okay, this word also, I tried to find equivalents, but more we hold on to these keywords. Right? It will help us in our understanding of Vedanta. English meaning is correct understanding of Brahman. Samyak Jnanam means that. If you have said that Brahman should not be understood as an object, it is amata, it is unknown. It is not unknown like it is unknown to an ignorant person. If that is the case, then what is the right way to know it? What is the method? Okay, that is the connection now. 77th page on the Gita Press book. Avidnyatam vijanatam iti avadhrutam. Okay, this was just concluded in the previous mantra. To those people who have understood Brahman correctly, to them Brahman is unknown. Avidnyatam vijanatam. Yadi Brahma atyantam eva avidnyatam laukikanam brahmavidam cha avisheshah praptah. If this is the case, then between ignorant people and Brahmajnani, there is no difference. Jnani is also saying Brahman is unknown to me, and Ajnani has been always saying that what is this Brahman you are talking about? Every time you go to a discourse and come, previously you used to say that I am such and such person. Now you started saying I am Brahman. Who is this Brahman that you are? So this Ajnani also has a doubt, and Jnani also has a doubt. Or Jnani also is saying the same statement. Jnani doesn't have a doubt. Jnani is saying that statement, Brahman is unknown to me. Ajnani is also saying that. Avidnyatam vijanatam iti cha paraspara viruddham. Okay. The knower of Brahman is saying, I don't know. Vijanata means the knower of Brahman, Jnani. They saying avidnyatam, Brahma is avidnyatam. This is contradictory statement in itself. Katham tu tad Brahma samyak viditam bhavati iti evam artham aha. Now, what is the way, what is the method to know Brahman in the right way? What is the nature of correct understanding? Okay, what is the method? That is one part. And what is the nature of true knowledge? As I had mentioned in the last class, the next mantra which is there, this one mantra is elaborated in 30 plus verses of Drigdrishya Viveka. Wherever we take a dip in Gangaji, that dip is considered to be very holy. But all tributaries of Gangaji, all of them have come from Gaumukh. Like that, any Prakarana Grantha you study, we should remember that the main source of Prakarana Grantha is Upanishad. So Vidyaranya Swamiji, he took one mantra of Kenopanishad and he composed 32 verses. Okay, so all pointers we had seen. If you missed Drigdrishya Viveka, you will get a recap of all of that in this one verse now. Okay, let us see the verse. Pratibodha viditam matam, pratibodha viditam matam, amrutatvam hi vindate, amrutatvam hi vindate, atmana vindate viryam, atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate mrutam, vidyaya vindate mrutam, pratibodha viditam matam, amrutatvam hi vindate, atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate mrutam. Now this mantra bhashya is very beautiful. It's a little long and it will take some time. Okay, but we are in no hurry, right? What is the point in just completing the Upanishad without doing reflection on the depth of it? So this mantra says, what is the doorway? What is the only doorway to reach Brahman, to recognize Brahman? Upanishad Rishi says the only doorway is thought. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. We are not knowing Brahman through thought. Means we are not making it as an object of thought. Using the thought, we are shifting attention to the seer or the witness of thought. Knowing this fact clearly, that it is the same consciousness which is appearing as this conditioned consciousness in this thought, and also being aware of the fact that in its true sense, consciousness is unconditioned by that thought. Okay, I can recognize consciousness with the thought, but it is not to say that this consciousness has actually become conditioned by that thought. Best example is when you have a pot space, right? You can recognize the space with the help of the pot. But that pot space has not really become conditioned by that pot. Right? So this pot is represented by a thought, the similarity between the example and what we want to say. This vritti, that is the conditioning for this Atma. Just like that pot was the conditioning for the space, this vritti is the conditioning for Atma. I can use that thought to abide in my own nature as Ananda Swarupa. Okay, this is the simple meaning of that, knowing the pure consciousness in every thought to be my own true nature. There will never be a thought which is inert. Okay, there will always be thought which is sentient, which has the ability to illumine the world. But that ability doesn't belong to that thought inherently. It is my own nature as Chaitanya Swarupa, which is expressing in that thought. My nature as Sat Swarupa. Now this is a little difficult. To appreciate Chaitanya in thought is easy. But to appreciate that, existence of thought is borrowed from me. Just like existence of snake is borrowed from the rope, existence of mirage water is borrowed from the sand, existence of silver is borrowed from the shell, existence of thought is borrowed from Chaitanya. Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa, Atma lends existence to this thought. Thought can have different objects that we will see now. We are not concerned about nature of thought. If you are concerned about nature of thought, that becomes part of sadhana. In sadhana, we should be very, very diligent about thought. But in Vedanta, or when we come to Siddhanta part, abiding in our nature as Atma, the main emphasis is, I am the substratum of thought. I am the one who lends sentiency to these thoughts. Knowing ourselves as different from these thoughts is immortality. You see the beauty of this mantra. Pratibodha viditam matam. Know Atma through thoughts. Amrutatvam hi vindate. Knowing Atma in this way, knowing myself in this way, this itself is immortality. This itself is liberation. Now the same point we have been seeing since the second mantra, Shrotrasya Shrotram, Atimuchanti Dhiraha Pretyasmat Lokat Amrutaha Bhavanti. But when it comes through another mantra in a different way, that same idea should get opened up more. After studying these mantras, we should not have vague idea about what is liberation. Right? Liberation is not a unique experience. Liberation is not something which is going to come in time. Liberation is not something which will happen in a particular place. Whenever we think in that way, we should come back to this mantra. Pratibodha viditam matam. Matam means knowledge. Knowing Atma through every thought. Through every thought meaning as the witness of every thought. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. This knowledge itself is liberation. This is liberating knowledge. But what is so great about it? Atmana vindate viryam. This knowledge of the self, abidance in our own true nature, makes a person fearless in its true sense. There are different levels of fearlessness. One fearlessness is through resources. Right? All of them are valid. Meaning if I needed something and I worked hard to get that thing, either it is a skill or wealth, whatever other things they are, good health. These are things that we need. and we have worked hard for them, when we get it, it will make us fearless to some extent. Second level of fearlessness is through devotion to Bhagavan. Staying as finite jiva, but knowing this fact very clearly, that if I am a sincere devotee of Bhagavan, he will take care. That assurance brings a lot of fearlessness. This is the third step, Atmana vindate vidyam. When I have come to recognize my nature as that non-dual Atman, devoid of thought, devoid of this creation, that knowledge brings fearlessness. Vidyaya vindate amrutam. Knowledge only removes ignorance, it does not create amrutatvam. I am ever immortal because of this ignorance. I identified with this mind, body, and thought myself to be this finite being and bound by these conditionings. So the purpose of knowledge is only to remove this misunderstanding and make us abide in our own nature as Ananda Swarupa Brahma. Okay, every quarter of this mantra is very important. More we reflect upon it, things should start opening up. And if we have pramana buddhi in Shastra, then these are not mere words. Okay, this has come from Upanishad rishis who have seen this truth for themselves. It was revealed to them that this is the path. Walk this path, you will reach your goal. Otherwise, for Mahatmas, it's very difficult to know which path they took. Right? Mundakopanishad, we had seen it earlier. It is said the journey of Mahatmas is like the trail of birds in the sky. Meaning what? You see no path. You just see the bird here, next moment you see it here. But if you want to trace how did that bird go there, you cannot trace it. But these mantras, they are the indicators. They are the trails that we should hold on to and make sure that we are walking on the right path. And this method of thinking takes a long time for us to internalize. Okay, that amrutatvam is clear knowledge. Clear knowledge or abidance in this Atma, the doorway is through thought. Okay, so to settle down in this, it takes long time. And we should give ourselves that time. Not getting tired with meditation, not getting tired with repetition. Right? One reading of Upanishad is over, come back again. Do the second reading or read some other Upanishad. The same thing will be pointed out. Okay, pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate, atmana vindate vidyam, vidyaya vindate amrutam. Now we will see the concept first and then enter into bhashya. Okay, Bhagwan has written a very beautiful bhashya on this. The initial part in particular, main part of Advaita Vedanta Sadhana. Okay, that is elaborated in this bhashya. So now, general introduction. What he says first is, just look at each and every experience. What are the things that we go through? And most importantly, appreciating that we are able to recollect those things as a thought. Okay. Generally, what happens is the outside experience, or it is some object, some person. It takes so much of predominance that we fail to appreciate that there are two things over here. One is there is an object, but that object is known only through a thought. Okay. So to come to this level also, it's a slow journey. That this sadhaka, whenever he sees an object, he doesn't see it independent of thought. And the wonder of Bhagwan's creation is, even without the object, I can recreate that same experience. If you want to try, you can try recollecting the smell of a rose. Try recollecting the fragrance of lemon. If you are good, you will appreciate that even through a thought, I can recreate an experience. Thought is, this thought is not always of forms. You can have thought of smell also, thought of sound also, not only through eyes. So that much is the power of thought. Any object can be recreated as a thought, but even while I'm experiencing that object, there is this thought. And if some sadhaka becomes introvert, means his attention is not only on the experience. So experience can be so many. Over here, there is a family time, everybody is watching TV, something is happening there. That was an experience which happened some time ago, right? Either yesterday, day before, whenever that happened. But now the sadhaka is able to appreciate, while I was going through that, there was a thought about that experience. And now also I can recreate that thought. Okay. But then he slowly recognizes that this thought doesn't stay just as one thought. There is a chain. Suddenly I will remember about this experience I had with family. Suddenly it will go to some mountain and say, oh, that hike that I went, so nice it was. Or that hike which I'm going to go today. I heard many of you go on hikes on Saturdays. So that thought will come. But I should appreciate that there are two things over here. There is an object and there is a thought of an object. Or that thought itself has this object. Sometimes it is outside, but even without that outside object, thought is there. So that object of the thought will always continue to be there. That the sadhaka recognizes. One he is seeing thoughts, another he is seeing the chain of thoughts. Hanumanji says our thought is like a monkey. In Ramayana he says, Shakha te shakha parajai. From one branch it jumps to another branch. Like how a monkey jumps, like that our thought jumps. One time it will be here, second time it is there. Now in Vedanta we are not concerned about making mind single pointed. That was part of adhikari. Okay, in Vedanta Sara we saw this. The purpose of sadhana, purpose of devotion is to make this mind quiet and make it single pointed. But over here, we are just appreciating or noticing how this mind works. Okay, so from one thought, it will go to another. The main point of this is to show thoughts can be of experiences, thoughts can be of objects like mountains, or thoughts can be of people. Okay. In these three, all thoughts are included. Now the question is, in addition to these thoughts, there is something which is witnessing these thoughts. The first step is to recognize that outside world is recognized only with a thought. But the next step is to go one step further and know that I am that Atman who is the witness of these thoughts. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to say, the only doorway that we have to Atma, no other doorway, he says. The only door that we have to Atma is through these thoughts. What is the journey that we traveled? From object, appreciate that there are these thoughts. Dance of thoughts happening inside. Looking at thoughts just like we see another object. Seeing the connection, one thought leading to another, leading to the third one. But using that thought not to again go back to the world outside, but to go to the witness of thought, which is Atma. Now, the beauty of this method is thoughts are available to everybody. Okay. Thoughts are available to everybody. With this knowledge, we can use that same thought to turn attention towards this truth. And we cannot complain that I am not able to abide in Atma, or I am not able to pay attention to this Atma in a given place during some time. Sometimes we have that question, right? That sometimes when I go to work, I'm so busy that I'm not able to remember this truth. I say, look at this understanding. Once that is clear, we don't have to struggle that in a particular place, I'm able to abide in Atma, in other place, I'm not able to. Why? Because Vedanta says there is no thought which is not illumined by this Chaitanya. There is no experience which is not illumined by this Chaitanya. So in and through every experience, if this knowledge becomes clear, then our attention is always on that Sakshi. The only catch here is these vrittis, the thoughts which are there, they should be non-bothering. If thought has lot of raga, lot of attachment towards some experience, some object, some person, that raga will only keep us focused outwards. Or dvesha, either one you take, both of them will make sure that I cannot enter this door. Bhagwan Shankaracharya has used that word very precisely. Door means what, you know? If this door is closed, no matter how great thing is on the other side, you cannot see it. And there is only one door, he says. There is no other entry. When we see Bhashya, this point will come. So the only way to open this door for me, one is through knowledge, but second is by making sure that these thoughts are non-bothering. Mumukshu is the one who has Atma as the goal, not Jagat. Okay. So if some vyavahara has to be done in such a way that it should become non-bothering, that becomes the priority of this mumukshu. And if we have sadhana chatushtaya, have a lot of vairagya, then this process will slowly start becoming easier for us. Which process? Distancing objects from thought, and then distancing ourselves from this thought. Okay, these are the slow sequential steps by which we can enter this door towards our own nature as unconditioned bliss. Okay. Patanjali Maharshi, he puts this as klishta and aklishta vritti. Klishta vritti means painful thoughts. Aklishta means beautiful thoughts. Klesha, we know, right? Klesha word he uses. This is all our vyavahara should be such that in and through these experiences, in and through our interaction with objects, in and through our interactions with people, we should make sure that those thoughts are non-bothering. And this is where devotion will come to our rescue. We saw this in Ramcharitmanas. Devotee doesn't look at world as experiences, objects, and people. Devotee looks at this world as Bhagavan. Imagine what kind of thoughts that this devotee would have. Once that happens, we have some chance of, seamlessly abiding in or entering this door, seamlessly traveling that journey inside. All Mahatmas, they never stayed in the world. Okay, they stayed here, which was their true home. They used to enter that door and interact with the world only as much as needed. But even while interacting, they never lost sight of their own true nature. अमर वह देसवा जहां से आयो. Mirabai said, रहना नहीं देश बिराना है. So much of vairagya towards this world. She says, I don't want to live in this world anymore. Meaning what? I don't want to live in this finite understanding of aham. When I have entered that door and abided in my own true nature, why again get back into this finitude and be part of different experiences? When we study these Upanishads, lot of things which are written in Mahatma's life, they will open up more. All of you are familiar with the story of Raman Maharshi. When as a small boy, he had some unique insight, some unique experience. If you make it into a mystic experience, then it will just remain at Bhagavan Raman Maharshi. But if we align it with Upanishad, then something will open up more for us. What was that experience? He said, let me simulate death. What does it look like to die? And he withdrew from this entire world. Meaning, withdrawing his attention from the world, lied down in one place, withdrew from this physical body, withdrew from this mind also. Means what? He is traveling this journey. From experiences he has withdrawn from thoughts. Then he says, there is a door you can enter, having entered which there is no change, there is no birth, there is no death. What is that thing? In the quest of that, he left. That was this journey, just to appreciate where these Mahatmas really live. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hi vindate. Okay. Now there are several aspects which Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji will bring in this bhashya. One of the things he's going to say is, although we are recognizing Atman through thoughts, there is no action in Atman of illumining these thoughts. Atma is not. Even the title illuminator, he says, is only with respect to the conditioning. It is not an absolute title of Atma. The best example we had seen was, previously only we saw in Kenopanishad. If there is firewood coming in contact with fire, we say the fire burned the wood. But actually speaking, fire did not burn. The nature of fire is to be hot. That wood had the ability to get burnt. It came in the proximity and it got burnt. So there was no doership in that fire. So this point he will elaborate. What are the fallacies? What are the difficulties you will end up with if you take Atma to be a doer? If you take Atma to be like an illuminator, doing some kind of action of illumining. It says Atma is just witness of thoughts. Only with respect to thought, Atma gets this title of a witness. Okay. So this slide has the Sanskrit words also, which will come in Bhashya now. So we can, be comfortable when we go into Bhashya. Object of the thought is called as Vishaya. Okay, whichever is outside, different experiences, either people or objects. You come one level above, the thought itself is called as Pratyayaha or Vrittihi. Okay, Pratyaya means thought, Vritti also means a thought. But only thing with these thoughts is they have Vishesha Jnana. Vishesha Jnana means knowledge of specifics. For example, if you are taking this experience, that thought will have knowledge of specifics of that experience, or which song I heard, which movie did I watch, who all were there with me while I watched that movie. All those details are in thought. Okay, so thoughts is Vishesha Jnanam. Atman is the witness of thought. So you say Sarva Pratyaya Darshi. Pratyaya means a thought. Darshi means witness of thought. But not only one thought, but all thoughts. Not only one intellect, but all intellects. That witness I am. That Sarva word is very deep. It is what which will make us different from Yoga Darshana. I am not Darshi of one Pratyaya or one intellect. I am Darshi, or I am witness of all intellects. Okay, so this is Atma, but Atma has Samanya Jnanam. Sakshi has Samanya Jnanam, no knowledge of specifics. Sakshi doesn't know whether this is blue color or red color or green color. Which movie did I watch? None of those details are there in Sakshi. Sakshi is just illuminator. There is no prapancha in Sakshi, and Sakshi is Jnana Swarupa. It is of the nature of knowledge, devoid of all conditionings. That Sakshi I am. Okay. Bhagwan Shankaracharya has written a text called as Aparoksha Anubhuti, where he writes this statement. Drushtim jnanamayim krutva pashyet brahmamayam jagat. Drushti means our understanding. One drushti is the physical eyes, but behind that eye is our understanding with which we see the world. This is drushtim jnanamayim krutva. Having made this vision as the knowledge of Atma. Getting this clarity about knowledge of Atma, that is our understanding. What is the nature of thought? How this Atman is witness of thought, and I'm different from this thought. With that drishti, he says, look at this world as Brahma. Pashyed Brahmamayam Jagat. This world gets existence from me, this consciousness. I am that infinite Brahman in which this Jagat appears. But all of this Jagat is recognized only with a thought. So that doorway is going to be this thought. Doorway to Brahma. From Jagat, if you want to go to Brahma, we don't have any other way. He says you have to boil down this Jagat to thoughts and then go to witness of thought. These are Siddhanta mantras, which is elaborated in a lot of other Prakarana Granthas. You see Saddarshanam, this one chain of thought Raman Maharshiji holds on to. In all experiences, he boils down to thoughts first, and he says, inquire where is this thought appearing. Don't directly go to judge that experience or fix something outside. Having abided in this drushti, having seen this Jagat as Brahma, then do whatever is needed. Right? That is the flip side of it. First, fixing our drushti, and then doing this vyavahara in light of this drushti. Drushtim jnanamayim krutva pashyet brahmamayam jagat. See this entire world as not nama rupa, not one person, second person, third person, but as Brahma. Now bhashya should be straightforward. Pratibodha viditam. Bodham bodham prati viditam. What is the meaning of the word pratibodha viditam? That Atma which is recognized through every thought. Okay, that Atma to whom every thought becomes an object. Bodham bodham prati viditam. Now here is where English will fall short. What is the literal meaning of this? Towards every thought, prati means towards. That Atman which is recognized towards every thought, or you can say through every thought. Okay, bodham bodham prati viditam. Bodha shabdena bauddhaha pratyayaha uchyante. By this word bodha, which is used in mantra, whatever is in this formatting, that is from mantra, which has come in bhashya. So bodha shabdena bauddhaha pratyayaha uchyante. By this word bodha, all thoughts are being referred to. Sarve pratyayaha vishaye bhavanti yasya saha atma. You see the precision in words. He says, what is Atma? Atman is that towards whom all thoughts become an object. Now don't try to change the translation of this. You know why? Because previously we said even the title Vijnanam is aupadika. Even saying that Atma is of the nature of consciousness, that is also only with respect to conditioning. You remember the discussion? We had said to remove all inert conditionings, we are using this word consciousness. So Bhagwan is very careful. He doesn't want to say that witnesshood is also an absolute title. Right? So that is why you see the precision in his words. He says, Sarve pratyayaha vishaye bhavanti. Yasya. Yasya means of whom all thoughts become an object. Sarve pratyayaha vishaye bhavanti. Saha Atma. That is Atma. Sarva bodhan pratibudhyate sarva pratyaya darshi. It is the one which knows all thoughts. Sarva bodhan pratibudhyate. It is a witness of all thoughts. Sarva pratyaya darshi. It is a witness of all these pratyayas. Chit shakti swarupa matra. It is endowed with this consciousness, which is its swarupa. Meaning what? It is not jada. And Chaitanya is not another entity which comes and goes in this Atma. So my nature as this Chaitanya is not inert. So every inert thing that I see in this creation is not me. Know Atma in this way. You say this is Samyak Jnanam. Remove all inertness from Aham. What is the inert thing which is most bothering? We say this body. Right? Physical body, which I think is I, it is inert. And Atma is Chit Shakti Swarupa Matra. I am that witness which is of the nature of consciousness. Pratyayi eva pratyayeshu avishishtataya lakshate. It is known by thoughts. It is known as that changeless substratum in each and every thought. Every word of this bhashya is important. Pratyayeshu, there can be manyness in thoughts. One thought is a very beautiful thought. Another thought is disturbing thought. Third thought is something else. Pratyayas can be many. Their vishayas can be many. But the pratyaya darshi, that is one. And if we should hold on to this fact that pratyayas are deriving existence from this sakshi, deriving their sentiency from this sakshi. And if that thought is quiet, then this ananda is reflected in that thought. Okay? And now you see the word, Bhagavan says, Na anyad dwaram antaratmanaha vijnanaya. To know this antaratma, to know Brahma, other than thought, there is no other doorway. Dwaram word is used. That is why we had the door symbol there, so that we remember what is Vedanta Siddhanta about abiding in Atma. We should not have ambiguity. Where do I find Atma? How do I search for Atma? Before, if we had that, it is good. That is what brought us to Vedanta. But after studying Vedanta, this destination or location where to search for Atma, that should become very clear. In every experience, there is a thought. Recognize Atma as witness of that thought. Na anyadvaram antaratmanah vijnanaya. This is just a translation of that. Atman is that of whom thoughts become an object. Be very careful in this statement. One sentence here and there, one word here and there changes the entire Siddhanta. Later we will see one misunderstanding can lead us into Nyaya Darshana unknowingly. Another, word here and there misplaced can lead us into Sankhya Darshana. So we are Vedanta Darshana. It has its own precision in thoughts, precision in understanding. Second part is, although Atman appears to have been conditioned by a thought, it is unconditioned in its essential nature. Okay, that part later Bhagavan will explain. He says pot is conditioning the space as though there is no actual conditioning which has happened there. You can recognize the space with the help of that pot. Right? Unless you have wall, you don't know how big that space is, right? If you are just walking in open space, you don't notice that space. But once you come inside some conditioning, then you see, okay, this is how big this thing is. But because that conditioning is there, doesn't mean space has become conditioned. Okay? In the same way, even though thought is recognized or Atma is recognized through a thought, the understanding is Atma is unconditioned by thoughts. Okay, so this part and the next part of Bhashya also is very beautiful. So this is one portion. Okay. Next portion, Bhagavan will say, Vedanta is not only about abiding in witness of thought. There are a lot of implications which come with this understanding that I am witness of thought. And unless we appreciate those implications, we will not be able to appreciate how knowing myself to be witness of thought brings immortality. So that chain he picks and then he elaborates on that. How with this just simple understanding that you are witness of thought, so many other things can be derived. Okay, that part we will see in the next session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Okay. Would the thoughts have layers? When we see ourselves thinking anxious thoughts, this is also a thought, right? No, if you go into that, you will end up in regressions. There are no layers in thoughts. Vedanta says at a given time, you have only one thought. That is why the word prati is used. Pratibodha viditam matam. Bodham bodham prati vidyate. With every thought, this Chaitanya is recognized. And at a given time, there can be only one thought. Okay, but the frequency of these thoughts is so high that we feel as though there are many thoughts at a given time. Sometimes it might appear that way. Anxious thought, there are different layers to it. We'll discuss it in the next session. I take it up as a different topic. But main thing to appreciate is even anxiety, it will have an object. Right? It will also become drushya to us. And this Siddhanta, if we catch, that even anxious thought, if it is there, it comes sequentially. Okay, it is not that there is one layer of thoughts which is happening. On top of that, there is an anxiety layer which is there. If we slow down our mind, we will notice that only the frequency is very fast. Suddenly you have an object, suddenly you have an anxious thought, suddenly you have this. That's why even in the midst of that anxiety, if we get some diversion, right, our mind goes somewhere else, then that anxiety is unnoticed. Okay. All right. How does Upanishad conclude thought to be inert? There are two ways to look at this. One is we should go back to Srishti Prakriya, whichever text we might have studied. In Tattva Bodha, we studied this. What is mind made up of? Sattvic aspect of Samashti Panchamahabhuta. Right? From individual Samashti Mahabhuta, Sattvic aspect, Jnanendriyas came about. From the totality of Sattvic Panchamahabhutas, Antakarana, or thought, they came about. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. There are 4 parts, but all of them are thoughts only. So that is one way to know that Maya is inert. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamo Guna is Maya. And thoughts are made up of subtle aspect of Sattva Guna. Okay. And all the 5 elements are there. Right? Sattvic aspect of all the Panchamahabhutas. But Sukshma Panchamahabhuta. That is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is thoughts are drishya. At a simpler way, we say whatever is drishya is inert. So that is how we conclude. Thoughts are drishya. Yad drishyam tad jadam. Does Jagat and other jivas exist, or are they just thoughts? Before asking this question, we should ask ourselves, does this jiva exist? Right? What is the status of this jivatva in our understanding? Whatever answer we get here, the same answer will apply outside. If I say, I am not this jiva, I am Brahma, then in this Brahma there is no Jagat. It's only an appearance, even if it is seen. But as Vyavaharik jiva, whatever reality you give to this finite being, the same reality we should give to outside world. Because if you directly dismiss Jagat as non-existent, we should not have questions about Vyavahara. Okay. If you keep Vyavahara and questions about Vyavahara as Satyam and dismiss Jagat and Jiva as Mithya, we will not be able to reconcile both of them and we will struggle. So Vedanta is very thorough in that. Vedanta says, do Vyavahara with this Brahma Drishti, with lot of dharma and sadhana, interaction with Jagat and Jiva as divine. But in our knowledge, understand that because some Vyavahara is done, doesn't mean that it is Satyam. Satyam is that Atma in which all Vyavahara is happening. And this Ahankara, Karta, Bhokta who is there, that Kartrutva and Bhoktrutva is an appearance in this Atma. Okay, both aspects are important. But from the standpoint of Atma, there is no Jiva, there is no Jagat. Okay. Just like from the standpoint of that rope, there is no trace of this snake. What is the etymology of Pratyaya? I would encourage you to go to the dictionary, Kalpadruma, and you see what is the etymology of Pratyaya. And in the next session, we can again discuss this. It's a very good question. If you get a thought that what is the etymology of pratyaya? It looks like there is prati upasarga, over there. And then aya dhatu is also there. What does aya dhatu mean? Aya means to lead. Towards what is it leading me to? So we should ask questions like this and go to the source. Then we'll be independent. Right? Whichever word we get inspired by, go back and look at etymology. And Sanskritam class, we have given all resources. Best one is Kalpadruma. Shabdakosha is also there. Vachaspatyam, that is another one. Both of them will find very nice etymologies in them. Okay, I hope all of you get a chance to reflect on this mantra. I will continue next session. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Namaha. Harihi Om.